morning.
Everyone's gathered. We're all ready.
Yeah, let's do it.
You need that?
Listen, Aaron. Thanks for letting me set this up. The whole team really didn't need to be here. I'm the one that owed the favor.
Everyone insisted. How you doing?
Sorry, what?
You okay?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm great. I'm good. I'll meet you over there in a minute, okay?
It's rare that an undergraduate criminology class gets guest speakers of this caliber. But today, we're especially fortunate. I'd like to welcome an old friend, esteemed author and FBI agent David Rossi, and his team, the Behavioral Analysis Unit. Now, they've agreed to spend an hour of their valuable time talking about what they do and how they do it. So let's make them feel welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Grant. Now, when she said I was an old friend, she was just referring to the fact that we've known each other for a very long time. Now, as the good professor said, I am Supervisory Special Agent Rossi. He's our SSAs, Giroux, Prentice, Hotchner, and Morgan. This is Dr. Spencer Reed, and on keyboards today we have our technical analyst, Ms. Penelope Garcia.
Hi.
Now, in simple terms, at the BAU, we use behavioral science, research, casework, and training to hunt down monsters, rapists, terrorists, pedophiles, and our specialty, serial killers.
Does anybody here know exactly what a serial killer is?
Someone who's committed more than one murder.
It's very good. By statute, 3 is the magic number. But it's actually more qualitative than quantitative for us.
And today we're going to talk about how some serial killers get made, because if you can understand that, then you can figure out a way to catch them. Garcia?
My liege. Okay, this is Rachel Moore, a 17-year-old runaway from Spokane, Washington.
Now, she grew up poor in a broken home. Her mom left her dad because he liked to drink and beat her.
And this is Tina Dyson, a 19-year-old college student from Seattle.
Now, she was a trust fund kid. She got straight A's and came from a loving family. Now, these two girls couldn't be more different. But the one thing that they had in common is they both crossed paths with the most prolific serial killer the BAU has ever seen.
Now, one thing you should understand is that no two killers are the same. They each occupy their own point on the behavioral spectrum. Genetics, brain chemistry, psychology, and environment are all factors.
But we believe that this particular killer grew up in an environment so adverse that he never had a chance.
He endured years of cruel and abject physical abuse,
As well as horribly profound psychological abuse.
When he wasn't being ignored, he was being humiliated.
Now, let me be clear. Most abused kids do not turn into killers. Not even all psychopaths become killers. But this particular unknown subject, or unsub, suffered extreme abuse. And it has everything to do with why he does what he does.
These are some of his victims. He kidnapped them, he restrained them, and he starved them for days.
then he killed them by mutilating their reproductive organs. Right now, we know there are at least 40 of them.
But we believe that he may eventually claim over 100 victims.
Now, we chose this case for today because we've been discovering bodies up and down the West Coast since 1992. For lack of a better word, it's a classic. This unsub's entire childhood was a crucible, and in it a psychotic killer was forged. The philosopher Voltaire wrote, "To the living we owe respect, but to the dead we owe only the truth." The dead are the cornerstone of every homicide investigation. Victims give us a look into the killer's mind. If you want to know about a hunter, study his prey.
Okay, so the unsub's first victims were discovered 2 weeks apart in 1992 in Seattle. The first victim that was found was Rachel Moore. She was the runaway. Her body had been thrown into a dumpster in an alley. The medical examiner said that she was very malnourished and really dehydrated.
The ligature marks on her wrists and ankles made it apparent that she'd been restrained for days.
He held her, but he didn't feed her. So she's weak. It's his sadistic way to subdue her.
Several defensive wounds on her hands and forearms. She put up a hell of a fight.
Had a girl.
53 stab wounds to the lower abdomen and genitals. Damage made it impossible to determine if there was any sexual assault.
That might be a forensic countermeasure.
Here's my report. Stay as long as you need. Your mother should be here in an hour.
Hell of a way to see her after 2 years.
53 stab wounds. That's a lot of work. Does anyone want to tell me what they think that means?
Hatred?
Frustration. He's angry.
You're all correct. It's called overkill. Typically, it means the murder was personal somehow.
That or the unsub is psychotic and or prone to violent outbursts.
The overkill may also show his inexperience. This was probably his first kill. He was feeling his way through it, working out his MO.
But there's a lot about Rachel that tells us about the unsub. She was young, so most likely he was too.
What makes you think that?
She lived in a shelter and had a part-time job, so she was a street kid, but not necessarily the reckless type. She wouldn't just go off with anyone.
Yeah, Warden, it's Rossi. What? Ryan? Wait. Look, he's not going to give me a rain check. I have to see him today.
So the unsub maybe lured her with a ruse, or he blitz attacked her. It took her by surprise. Now, either one of these would be easier if you were young.
You can tell all that from just one victim.
Actually, it was 2 weeks later when we'd found the second victim that we started to piece that together.
Tina Dyson was home for the summer when she disappeared. Her body was found in a shallow grave just outside of Seattle.
But it was actually her abduction site that gave us the answers we needed.
Tina and 2 of her friends had fake IDs, and they decided to go to a local grunge bar.
But they drank too much, and Tina got sick, so while one friend was inside dancing, the other went out to hold Tina's hair.
I'm gonna go get Janice, okay? We're going home.
Good idea.
You okay?
Yeah. Jeez, what are you, a ninja? Where'd you come from? So, his anger is obviously directed at women.
Yes, but the real question is why, and the why is what always leads us to the who.
He was attacking their genitals and reproductive organs. Why?
Is he impotent and hates the thing that he can't have?
Did his wife or girlfriend or child?
What's a federal call them up and tell them what to do? You have to know someone in justice who can pull some strings. I've got to see him today, Aaron. You know that.
The possibilities are endless. And the unsub was figuring it all out for himself, too. We know that because he was evolving.
He started with a runaway, a victim with a high-risk lifestyle. He probably knew that her abduction would go unreported.
Then he upped his game and grabbed a college girl, which meant more risk for himself.
He dumped his first victim, Rachel, in an alley. He took the time to bury Tina, which suggests he felt more connected to her and perhaps he even felt remorse.
Did you ever catch this guy?
What's your name, young man?
David Zimmerman.
Don't interrupt me. Now, we knew we needed to warn the public, so we contacted the media, papers, local news. That was back before the internet exploded. And then, as will happen from time to time, the case went completely cold. We didn't hear from him again until 1997. 2 bodies were found in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. Same MO. Definitely our guy. Excuse me, I'm looking for the case agent.
That would be me, Agent Rossi. Agent Kochner, Seattle Division. We spoke on the phone. I inherited the case from Agent Bidwell. Thanks for coming so quickly.
Yeah, I hopped the first flight from Dulles. Came straight from the airport.
It's a long trip.
With bad food.
Let me show you what we found. A jogger discovered the first body dumped in the bushes about 30 yards over the road here. The ME said that she'd been there almost a month.
Any critters get to it?
We had to use dental records to identify her. Watch your step. So we did a search of the area, and we discovered the second body in this shallow grave. She'd been here less than a week.
So, he dumped the first one and buried the second.
Just like he did in 92.
The first victim, was she runaway?
25-year-old prostitute and crack addict.
Second?
A 27-year-old mother of 2. Both women had had their reproductive organs completely removed.
Not just mangled, he's evolving. Sounds like he's moving more toward ritual.
And apparently he's not locked into an age preference. The victims seem to be aging along with him.
What about stomach contents?
Both women were dehydrated and hadn't eaten in days. My guess is he hasn't been back in Seattle in a while.
What makes you say that?
We need someplace private to hold them. He might live close. Dumping a body in a public park is risky. It tells me that he's comfortable, settled in. He might have even chosen this spot to be able to come back and relive the kills.
You've done your homework, Agent.
5 years is a long time to be dormant.
He wasn't dormant. Killing that vicious is like a drug addict that needs a fix.
We were fairly certain that he had kept on killing. We just hadn't found the bodies yet.
Now, we knew that back in 92, when the media went wide with the story, our unsub got spooked. He disappeared.
So we tried to get in front of it. Meaning that if we could control the spread of information, we might be able to keep the unsub from fleeing again.
But back then, the BAU was still young. We didn't have press liaisons or technical analysts.
By the time we contacted the media, the story had already broken.
A symbol of the American West, a lone coyote hunts for prey. Agent Rossi, are you making any progress in the investigation?
Quite a bit, yes.
So do you have any solid leads?
Several.
Agent Rossi, can you confirm the rumors that the Moon Raider disembowels his victims?
Excuse me?
Can you confirm the rumors that the Moon
I'll
Raider...
confirm something for you. Womb Raider is a name that you gave him. I won't glorify him. I call him a murderer.
Then exactly how is he killing them?
My only concern is capturing him and bringing closure to the families of the victims. No further questions. Womb Raider. I hoped the nickname would embolden him. Thought maybe he would escalate and trip on his own hubris. But, that didn't happen.
Unfortunately, he vanished just like he'd done before, and the trail went cold again.
We did everything we could. We had every division up and down the West Coast, scouring missing person reports, a lot of possibilities, but no clear hits.
In the meantime, Agent Rossi retired, but the BAU grew. We trained more profilers, hired tech analysts, press liaisons, and we even got our own resident genius.
Thank you.
Well, Agent Rossi, why'd you retire?
Well, that's a good question. Well, the simple answer is I needed a change. I was working on my 3rd divorce.
Third?
Yes, Zimmerman, my 3rd. So I needed a break, and I figured writing books might help give me some peace of mind.
Did it?
Give you peace of mind?
For a time, yes.
In 2005, we got another hit on the unsub, this time in Los Angeles. We knew it was him because of his signature.
Sorry, what's a signature?
It's a rare combination of MO and ritual that allows us to link cases over time and geographic distances.
Her name was Lana Cooper. She was a 33-year-old prostitute. Her body was found by a boy walking his dog in Griffith Park.
Ligature marks on her wrist and ankle. She was restrained.
And he gave her a complete hysterectomy. The uterus, ovaries, fallopian tubes, all removed. A little crude, but he cut all the right ligaments. He knew what he was doing.
What about her throat?
That was done post-mortem. He cut out her vocal cords.
Might be a symbolic way of keeping her silent.
So she was alive when he performed the hysterectomy.
Anything in her stomach?
Dry as a bone. She hadn't eaten in days.
So he starved her too. That's a pretty specific MO. This probably isn't his first victim.
I wonder if we should be looking at doctors and medical students.
It's definitely not his first victim. I don't think he's a doctor or a medical student.
You calling Gideon?
No. The first call I made was to Agent Rossi. I knew he was writing his book, but I didn't want to start to build a profile without him.
Bye.